नमः सर्वेभ्यः हरि ओम् अद्वैतचिन्तनवर्गे सर्वेषां स्वागतम्। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मुक्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः परमर्षिभ्यो नमः परमर्षिभ्यः। नयना भगिनी शान्तिमन्त्रं वदतु। नयना भगिनी
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नमो नमः।
धन्यवादः भगिनी। अपरोक्षानुभूति प्रथमं श्लोकं चान्द्री भगिनी। अस्तु तथा ललिता भगिनी, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
I can see the screen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, please chant.
Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham.
Next one also.
Aparokshanubhutirvai Prochyate Moksha Siddhaye Sadbhireva Prayatnena Vikshaniya Muhurmuhu.
धन्यवादः भगिनी।
धन्यवादः महोदय।
In the last class, there was, based on the lecture ahead, somebody asked me a question, which I thought I'll discuss in the beginning of the class, so that with that we can move forward. That question was, when we said, it is our own happiness that is getting reflected on the objects, and what we are realizing is our own happiness. So the person asked me the question, if that is the case, why are we feeling unhappiness and other emotions when we have some objects which we interact in our daily life? Anybody can answer that, or anybody want to see what is the answer?
That feeling also is from us only, Mahodaya. That's whether it's happiness or dukkham, whatever it is, it's generated from us only. The object as per se is not giving us any happiness or dukkha, but it's the feeling in us which is creating that. The same object might give happiness to someone, the same object might give a dukkham, a feeling of sadness to someone else. So it is inherent in us, not in the object.
Right. What do you say, Shobha Bhagini? What is your take on it?
Yeah, that is correct, Mahodaya. Because objects as such don't have any emotions. It is our own perception. It is the perceived happiness or unhappiness with any given object. And that happens according to our own state of mind when it comes to vasanas and the three gunas and our own prarabdha and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So one object can bring happiness to one, and the same object can bring unhappiness to another, be it a person or a incident or any perception that may be.
Okay. Chandu Mahodaya, what is your take on it?
Samoda, I agree with Bhagini. Like it's anand or happiness is not coming from the object, but I cannot say whether it's like a sense happiness or it's atma happiness. Really, I cannot distinguish, or I'm not able to explain that one. But yeah, definitely, it's not an object which gives the happiness.
Thank you. What about Lilita Bhagini? Your view on that?
Yeah, see, actually the real happiness is not in the external materialistic things at all. It is the inner happiness, and we ourselves are happiness personified. So there is no question of seeing happiness out. It is in inner happiness which matters.
Yeah, then why do we feel sad or sorry, or some objects or some incidents give us unhappiness or sorrow?
We are not supposed to be feeling sad or happy at any. There should not be any. Nothing should affect us. Come what may, like that is the stage we must reach. Try to reach.
Okay. Chandri Bhagini?
Objects cannot give us happiness. Like earlier it says that it is our liking or our vasana towards that object which is making it feel attractive. Because after some time that same object does not give us that similar happiness. We've already moved to another one. You can enjoy the object, but basically don't get attached to it or become a slave of it.
Okay.
Mahodaya, may I add one more thing when everyone is done?
Let Chandri Bhagini finish it. Then
yeah, that's what. When everyone is done,
right.
I would like to say.
Yeah. So that's why we should not depend on objects for our happiness, because they themselves keep changing, and what we are looking is for permanent happiness. So you cannot get it from impermanent things.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Chopra Bhagini, what is it you want to add?
Basically, at the root of it all, it comes from this feeling of separation from the Atman, Brahman, that we are separate from Brahman. So that is the root cause of all of this. So when we attain to that state where we see that we are Brahman, we live as Brahman, then everything will be within us, and there is nothing that will make us happy or unhappy.
Okay. Now the word which we discussed was based on the Vaishika Jadavat. We based from where the topic came, how the Vishayika Jada can give happiness or sorrow. Happiness and sorrow, as what we perceive in our day-to-day experience, is a relative impulse felt by the mind, and that is not the Swarupa Ananda. Now the Swarupa Ananda cannot be depending upon either the subject or the object, because it is a nature. Like it is the nature of the fire to be bright, light and heat, or any object like the space to be, Akasha, space, occupying everything or giving space for everything also. That nature is what is, and it cannot be experienced as an experience per se. At the same time, what we perceive as happiness through the objects and reflected as happiness of our, because of the Upanishad Vakya, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. it is because of your Atma is dearer to you, everything becomes dearer to you. That in that statement, there is two hidden meanings lying in it. One is that Atma and Kama. Now, Atma cannot have Kama. Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. Right? Atma is a Swarupa, and Swarupatvam Asti Chet. When there is in Swarupa, there cannot be a desire, because desire can happen only for things other than itself. So that being said, the Atma Sukham cannot be desired if one knows what is the Atma Sukham or what is Atma Sukham means. What happens with the object giving happiness and sorrow is basically, it is our mind which is playing the game with the Kama. What is desired when we attain, we feel happiness. The happiness what we feel is not on the object, as you all said. It is felt inside. What happens at that time is that the Kama which was disturbing in the mind subsides because it has met with its goal. So for that momentary period where that attainment has happened, the Kama or the desire in the mind as an impulse or the vritti in the mind subsides, and what we experience is the reflection of the happiness of ours, but we superimpose it onto the event or the object. And we say that the sweet gave me happiness, or being in presence of somebody gave me happiness, or some event gave me happiness. It's all because of the superimposition of that desire which was causing the anxiety or the eagerness to achieve the desired result, meets with the result and subsides. Now what happens in the case of unhappiness or sorrow is that same type of desire is there, but a desire which cannot be fulfilled. At that time what happens, when the desire doesn't meet the expectation, the desire doesn't subside. It creates an agitation in the mind, and that agitation of the mind is being observed by the observer. And that is what it is creating the anger or hatred or unhappiness or sorrow or misery. Because the vritti doesn't subside, because it has not met with what the expectation was. Because everything is based on the expectation we have from an event or an object. We forget for the time being that objects are not under our control. They are independent as entity, just as we are independent. The objects are also independent, and they have the independent role to play in the nature. When that happens, what we with our desire want to modify or change the situation or expect the object or the event to meet our desired levels of happiness or requirement. When that doesn't happen, the manovritti cannot subside. It keeps agitating in the mind because it has not met with its goal. This is the time when the sorrow is being felt. Actually, the experience is not of the sorrow of the object or the event. It is the sorrow or the unhappiness existing in our mind that is being experienced. So that can be only understood and reduced only if we accept that expectations or the desired result to change the object or the events outside the world is not the way to meet with happiness. Things will come the way it has to come. If you touch fire, it has to burn you. Same way, if you touch ice, it will chill your skin. So objects per se has got their own nature to behave as per the creation. But if we want a event or an incident to result in our happiness, but our expectations are not as per the result which can be given by the incident, we become unhappy. Is it now understood? The difference?
Mahodaya, can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Sure.
Okay, if you're saying there's a vritti which is created when you see an object, right? But if you maintain that self-composure and you don't have a desire and you don't form a vritti, is it the complete bliss, or what is it exactly? You say when the desire is fulfilled, the vritti is satisfied. So where is the happiness coming from? Is it your Atmanandam, or what is it? Where is it being generated?
It is not generated. That is what the beauty is. It is our Swarupa.
Oh, astu.
When the vritti obstructs it from being experienced, whether it is a good desire or a bad desire, when that obstructs, we have, as Shobha Bhagini said, a dichotomy or a Dvidiyatvam. Other than me, there is something. That feeling which comes is the one which is creating that vritti, and that vritti is obstructing. Actually, that vritti is what is being observed, not our nature by se.
Yes,
now,
that's true.
that is what it is called Niratishaya Sukham.
Astu.
So, Sukham, Anandam, all these things are interchangeably used, but we cannot draw a line saying this is Sukham, this is Anandam. But Anandam is normally when there is no Atishayatva or ups and downs or comparative nature of Sukham is called Anandam. And when it is having upper and high and low, beginning and end, and all those things, it is not Anandam, it is Vaishihika Sukham. Depending upon the object, the presence of the object or the absence of the object or the event, incident will give us happiness or sorrow.
Oh, astu. Okay, fine. So you mean to say a person as Jnani does not have a vritti generation in his mind? That is what it means?
Jnani's vritti is about the Swarupa. He has a vritti.
Okay.
As long as mind is there, there will be a vritti.
Ah, right. But it's for Mokshananda, or like for...
Not Mokshananda. Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
Okay.
Or Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. So his vritti is established in the reality or the truth that I, as an individual experiencing the world outside, is not different from it, and my experience of the world as separate and me as separate is due to a Maya, or what you call illusion created by my mind. Just as in the dream we create a world and we ourselves feel separated inside the dream as an experiencer and objects, the Supreme Paramatma or the Paramananda Swarupa in the waking also creates a world.
Yes.
And the Paramatma is the one which is the objects as objects and as the individual who is experiencing the objects. Both are that only.
Right. Okay.
So, Ayam Prakriya, Maya Upadhi is a Paramatma. Same thing when it comes to Avidya in the Jiva, we feel the separatedness.
Right.
But as a creator, he knows both are not different from him. And when we use these words of English in English, creator and created and all, there is a lot of misunderstanding that can take place. As somebody is there as sitting as a creator and creating. No. It is the awareness itself creating the awareness, differential awareness. Like the sea itself is creating the waves and the froth and the bubbles.
So as long as the mind is there, there's a vritti. That's what you meant to say, right?
Yeah, mind, as long as mind, that, see, my guru used to say that you can put off the fire only where there is fire, no?
Okay. Astu.
Right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
the vritti, which is the fire, can be put out only where the vritti is there. That vritti, when you disassociate from the vritti and look at it as a sakshi, then even though it moves, it is like the mirage moving, you know it is not water. You don't get enticed by it or, tempted to go towards that water for drinking or meeting your thirst. Same way, our vrittis will continue to happen, but you will be observing the vritti as that of mind, but not as of mind. Today we associate ourselves with the vritti, we become happy, unhappy, sorrow, and all our association with that, even the deha, what you said about in the first class, about the feeling of the body with the skin level, is because of the mind associating with the skin level, body level. But in the same time, when the mind is disassociated from the body level, in the dream, it can go to USA or China or Russia or any country without any problem. There is no identification with the skin level body, right? There also you have the experiences. So that is all, that is a Nidra Vritti. In the Jagrat Vritti, we have the intellect to disassociate it from our Vritti. That is where the Buddhi comes. So Chitta Shuddhi or Buddhi Shuddhi, what we talk about in the Advaita requirement is mainly from that point of view, that one who has sharpened his intellect can disassociate his own mind functioning with his intellect. It is just like watching your own thoughts. You know that when a thought is happening, you can stay away from your thought and observe your thought, how thought is moving. But in the normal sense, what happens is we associate it with our thought, and what the thought wants us to do, we do it. But a jnani, what happens is he is all the time established in the intellect, looking at all thoughts at the same way, without any affection or hatred. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu,
Samadukha.
right? Samadukham,
Yes.
Samadoshtasma Kanchanaha. All those things because of that only. That knowledge comes in, and that knowledge is like the 10th man's explanation. The moment you hear it, you are the 10th man, there is nothing more to be done. But lot of people still have the misconception that even after studying Vedanta and Upanishad, you have to do a lot of acrobatics of yogasana, meditation, all those things. But that all will give you certain discipline in life, no doubt about it. It's not futile. Every work, every action has got a benefit in its own way. So it is not that it is not good or bad. It has got its own merits and merits for doing it. But that is not what Advaita is talking about. Advaita is talking about using your Nididhyasana, Nishchidatma Buddhi, to disassociate yourself from the fluctuating or thoughts which is taking you along with the desires into the world outside to engage with it. That is where the difference will come. And once that knowledge is, you are established, like how you are a human being, how you are a male or a female, you don't have to remember all the 24 hours or the waking or everything. But whenever that is there as a, what you call undercurrent in our existential reality, whatever happens on the top of the mind doesn't affect it anymore.
Yes, Mohday, that answers my question.
Okay. Dhanyawada. So now this, we'll get into the second sloka, Aparokshanubhudi vai prokchade moksha siddhaye sadbihi eva prayatnena vikshaniya muhu muhu. Basically, this sloka is what Vidyaranya Muni in his commentary has mentioned as Anubandha Chatushtayam. What is the Anubandha Chatushtayam? For every Grantha, there are 4 limbs which are important for the Grantha to be called a beneficial Grantha. Basically, they are Vishayam, Adhikari, Sambandham and Prayojanam. That is, what is the subject it is dealing with, and for every subject there is a basic qualification what is required for that subject to be understood. Like in our normal life also, whether physics or chemistry or biology, there has to be a certain level of quality of the adhikari of the student, because of which we get admission. Otherwise we are called admissions is not qualified. No? Same way here also Vedanta also talks about the adhikaritvam and vishayatvam. What is the vishaya that this Grantha is going to talk about? What are the qualities required for the adhikari? Then what is the relation between the adhikari and some vishaya? Suppose the adhikari is for music, he cannot be sitting in the zoology class, right? So there has to be a sambandha between the vishaya and the adhikari, and what is the way the sambandha matters. And as in my first day lecture, prayojanam anuddishya namanto vipravartade. Without any fruitful effort, result, nobody is enticed to take up a study. So what is the prayojanam for an adhikari for studying this vishaya, and how he can relate himself with the vishaya is what is explained in this sloka. Indeed, those who are established in that truth, the immediate knowledge explained for those who want to attain self-realization by their own effort, should we scrutinize the statements of the Acharya again and again. Now, from this class onwards, what I decided is that I'll do the Padachedam and make it available so that we can save time. Otherwise, it is dragging for long. So, I have made this as last class what we read, the Padachedam. I have done it, and in the next slide we will go to the meanings first. Idanim Prekshavat Pravurtaye Anubandha Chatushtayam Darshayan Swachakirsitam Pratijanite Aparokshaha iti. Now here he is talking about the Anubandha Chatushtayam, the fourfold interconnected requirement for explaining what is Aparoksha. And for the sake who have taken this as a study, self-motivated, because nobody is forcing anybody to study this. Those who are interested, that is the beauty of Advaita. Advaita is not forced by our parents or our teachers or anybody for us to study that. It's our own interest in. So, as the Gita sloka says, no? Tanman prapadyate. So, those who have got the interest will reach to a right Advaita learning process if he is really interested in it. The subject should be of enticing to him. Otherwise, there are so many people who are listening so many other subjects and lectures. Some may be interested in politics, some may be in the warfare, some may be in music, some may be in dance and drama. Like that, different interests are there for people. These are all called based on vasanas. Vasanas are impressions which we have created over our own thought processes. Now here the why iti avyayena vidvat anupamam pramanayati tat achayama yartaha. Here the why is a avyaya padam. By using that why padam, Vidyaranya Muni says that vidvat anupamam pramanayati. That is, a person who has already experienced or has achieved his goal is the one who is telling this. So he is authenticating by means and is achayamaha. Achayama means is praising it. Ujyate, pujayate. This statement of Aparokshanubhuti. Vidvat Anubhava Prasiddhaya Tattvamasyaadi Mahavakya Shravanaja Pratyagabhinna Brahma Vishaya Anubhuti Akshana Indriyanam Param Atitam Na Bhavati Iti. Now, Vidvat Anubhava Prasiddhaya. Why is the Avyayam Anubhavam Pramanayati? Now, that Vidvat Anubhava Prasiddhaya Tattvamasyadi Vakya Shravanaja. Now, how does that, now Tattvamasi and etc., the Mahavakyas from the Shastras have been proclaimed by Anubhavastha Sadbihi Munehe. So, it is their Anubhava Vakyam which is being proclaimed through the Upanishad Chandavat. So, in that what is being told is being passed on by generations to generation by Acharyas who have pursued that path and also has vouched their own personal experiences as it is something possible to achieve. So, their Pramanam is Aptavakyam for us. So, only that Pramana, if it is Indriya Pramanam, it is called Pratyasha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda. Now, Shabda Pramanam is considered as one of the most acceptable Pramanas for the Indian philosophical system. Now, what is the Shabda Pramanam? It can be either a perceptor who has experience which is explaining with the Shastra as a Pramana, or whatever he has said has written down or passed on to generations by people. But just because he wrote it, it doesn't become a Pramana. If it has been passed on from generation to generation, somebody has vouched for it. Otherwise, so many things have been told by so many people. No? How come an Advaita philosophy, which even after almost 2000 years is still able to make interesting and acceptable to people who have got sharper intellect, is because of the fact that it has been proved that what is being taught in the Upanishads and the Shastras is not something which what you call Paroksham. Akshanam Bahih Nasti. It is something immediate and it can be experienced by anyone. Just as if somebody today tells about Sushupti or the deep sleep, anybody who has experienced Sushupti will immediately be able to relate to his Sushupti what the other man is telling as Sushupti. Same way, when the Purvacharya said something about the Tattvamasi, that Tattvamasi, how it is true, is logically explained, and that when your Chittavritti comes to a what you call standstill, or when you are able to see through the Chittavritti as separate entity as a Sakshi, you are also able to experience same Anubhuti or the awareness what has been told in the Shastras. So, Brahma Vishayam or Aparoksha Anubhuti is the first Vishayam or of the text which we are going to deal with. Now, Aparoksham Indriya Adhishtanam Tattva Prakashadhyam Nitya Pratyaksha Swaprakasha Atma Tattvam. What is the Brahma Vishaya? Aparoksham Indriya Adhishtanam. Aparoksham is not Paroksham. So, it has to be Indriya Pradhishtanam. Tattva Prakashabhyam, that the Indriya as well as the Tattva, which is a Atma Jyoti or the self-awareness within ourselves, Tabhyam, Nitya Pratyaksha. It is ever present. It is not something that, when you hear music, you hear the music. When you eat, you are tasting the thing. So each Indriya gives a different aspect. But it's all object oriented. But when it comes to subject or Atma, there is never a period or never a moment in our life when we say that I am not. Aham asmi sada bhami. I am there is always what is being experienced, whether you know Sanskrit, whether you are an Indian or whether you are anybody in the world, everybody has the same feeling. So it is a Nitya Pratyaksha, Swaprakasha Atma Tattva. That Swaprakashata is very important word to be remembered in our way. That it is not a light from outside. Here the Prakashatvam is not talking about a light. It is the enlightenment of our true nature through which our existence is always being realized by us. Aham asmi is a prakasha, Atma prakasha, that I am there or I am is the statement at which everything comes after that. As soon as we wake up from a deep sleep or in a deep sleep, the first thought what comes or the first experience what we have is Aham asmi. Then only anything else can come. That Aham is not Ahanda. So you should not confuse between Ahanda and Aham. Aham is the Swarupatvam, whereas Ahanda is the ego as an aspect of the mind when it says Mama, Aham Mama, when it is identifying itself with something else. So that is not what is the Aham. The Aham Asmi is the pure awareness that I am. That itself is the Atma Tattva. Tasya anubhuti vritya aruda akhanda yadva aparoksha cha asau anubhuti cha idi aparoksha anubhuti. Now he is defining what is aparoksha anubhuti. Tasya anubhuti vritya. So that anubhuti as a vritti in the intellect. The anubhuti per se is Atma Tattvam, so prakashata. But tasya vritti, when akhandata aruda, when it encompasses everything, that entirety, binding everything, aparoksha cha asau anubhuti, that is being experienced as aparoksha means pratyaksha. That is called aparoksha anubhuti. So it is the vritti of ahamasmi when you become aware of that. That is called aparokshanubhuti. We normally do not give importance to the fact that I am is the substratum on which my life, my objects of interaction, my experiences, everything is based on that aham asmi. If I am not there, nothing is there. That's what happens in the sushupti, no? So that aham asmi, when it is observed as a vritti in the intellect, then it becomes aparokshanubhuti. Vidya aparapadyaya. Here the vidya, I didn't want to translate the word vidya, means vid jnapane, knowing. That itself is Brahma Sakshatkara. Knowing that vritti is what is called Brahma Sakshatkara, because aham asmi, as I told you, is the experience of everything in this world. So what I experience as aham cannot be different from anybody else experience as aham. Because whenever we interact also unknowingly, without any Brahma-jnana or Atma-jnana, when each one of us say, I came late or I had food or anything, there is a underlying I which is being taken for granted or not being separately discussed at all by each and every one of us. But when you don't identify that separatedness, you are in the confusion or what we call as delusion. That aham sharira, aham deha, idam mama, all those thoughts are because of that aham is being identified by the body. But when you identify that as a vritti, then that becomes a jnapanam, vijnanam or vidya, which itself is called Brahma Sakshatkara. तत् साधन ग्रन्थः अपि उपनिषच्छन्दवत् अपरोक्षानुभूति शब्देन उपचर्यते झटिति अवलोकमात्रेण एव उत्तम अधिकारिणां ब्रह्म साक्षात्कार कारणं ग्रंथ विषया इत्यर्थ. Now he is making that for the uttama adhikari. Now he will define about the adhikari separately here, but brahma sakshatkara karanam grantha vishaya ityartha. So the grantha vishaya is brahma sakshatkara or vidya apara paryayah. So that aparokshanubhuti is itself is brahma sakshatkara. This is the grantha vishaya. Anena नित्य अपरोक्ष ब्रह्म तत्त्वं विशेषः यः दर्शितः स प्रोच्यते प्रकर्षेण तत्तत् आशंका निराकरण पूर्वकं सिद्धांत रहस्य प्रदर्शन रूपेण उच्यते कथ्यत इत्यर्थः अस्माभिः पूर्वाचार्यै इति अर्थवत् अध्याहारः. Now he is here asking us to do the अध्याहार of पूर्वाचार्य कथित और उच्चार्यमाण छंद उपनिषद वाक्यानि. That knowledge what is being transferred was from the Purvacharya. What is Nitya Paroksha Brahma Tattva? That Vishesha Jnanam, that is what is called Prochyate Prakarshena Tattat. And how does it do this? Ashanka Nirakarana Purvakam. By totally removing the ashankas, all the doubts. I told you there are three types of ignorances. One is not knowing it, it is called ajnana. Knowing it as something else is called viparya. And the third one is samshaya. Whether it is this or that, ubhayakodi jnanam is something what is told. So ashanka can be in any of the three forms. Tasya nirakarana purvakam. Siddhanta rahasyasya prakashana rupena uchyate. So the Siddhanta is being explained by the Purvacharya Vachana Chanda Upanishad Vat Atma Parokshanubhuti Shabdena Upachatyate Jaditi Avaloka Matrena Eva Uttama Adhikarina. It is instantaneous, like the 10th man example. Jaditi Avaloka Matrena. If you are really concentrating and understanding the explanation that is being given in the thing, and if you are an Uttama Adhikari, there cannot be time difference between the what you hear in your ears to what you are experiencing from that, because ashanka nirakarana purvakam, because all sorts of ashanka is being removed by explanations in the text. So that is what it is in the first two aspects, that is Vishaya and Adhikari. Manupraya, I'll read the next district, that's better. Manuprayaha prayojana manudishya namandovi pravartata iti nyayat na arambaniya grantha iti ashankya prayojanam aha moksha siddhayam iti. Now, as I told you, there has to be a fruit of any action. So why should I study the book? Even an Uttama Adhikari should ask and can ask the question, what is the benefit if I am studying this book? So here he said, that is the famous Nyaya, Prayojanam Anudishya Namandovi Pravartati. Because even the fools do not take up any action if there is no result to it. So what is the Prayojanam? Moksha Nama Swa Avidya Kalpita Anatma Dehaya Atmatva Abhimana Rupa Bandha Nivritti Dwara Swaswarupa Avasthanam Tasya Siddhi Prapti Tat Artham. Now here they are using the word moksha in the Dharani Muni. And what is moksha? Swa Avidya Kalpita Anatma Dehaya. Because of the avidya, we are superimposing anatmatvam, anatma deha as atmatvam. Atmatva abhimana rupam. Because we get the abhimanatvam on the atma abhimanam on the anatma deha, because of sa avidya kalpitam. Tadeva bandham. Tasya nivritti dwara swaswarupa avasthanam tasya siddhihi itrute aparokshanubhuti siddhihi praptihi tadartham. Now this is the prayojanam of the in the book. What is it? Bandha nivritti. And bandha nivritti is what? Anatma deham atma iti manyate chet muhyante jandavaha. So that moham what is being created because I am the body, that is being, that entanglement of the identification with the body as I am, that bandha nivritti is moksha. And while doing that, what happens is the swaswarupa avasthanam. Then we, at that time, what happens is when you detach yourself from that I am the body, there is still the I am. Where does that I am established? Swaswarupa avasthanam. That is the swarupa in which it is being explained. That time, whatever the vritti of Atma is being explained, that is aparokshanubhuti. Right? Anena sarvan artha nivritti dwara paramanandam avapti rupam prayojanam darshitam. Kim lakshana aparokshanubhuti sadbihi sadhubihi nitya nitya vastu vivekadi sadhana chadushtaya sampannaihi mumukshubihi ityarthaha. Now here he is calling the qualifications what is required for the adhikari. Sarvan artha nivritti dwara paramanandam avapti rupam prayojanam. Prayojanam is, we read in the previous line, that is bandha karanasya nivritti. Bandha nivritti eva is. So adhikasya, how does it happen? Artha nivritti dwara paramanandam avapti rupam. That paramananda rupam is the vyapakatvam, and that is being attained by that vritti, aham vritti, which is not with the deha, anatma deha. Kim lakshana aparokshanubhuti sadbihi sadhubihi. Why does the lakshana, what are the lakshanas what are required by for the aparokshanubhuti? The learned people, what do they say? Nitya nitya vastu vivekadi sadhana chatushtaya sampannehi mumukshuvihi. So mumukshu, there are 4 qualifications for an adhikari. Nitya nitya vastu vivekam. What is nitya and what is anitya? And vastu vivekam, the vastus, the objects including the sharira, there is nitya and anitya. So nitya anityam, there is something which is nitya. Even in my three avasthas, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, there is something called nitya which is there. That is why I am able to say that I slept, I dreamt, I am awake. So there is something nitya in all our experience from the childhood today till date. We are able to say, I am the one who was as a child, I am the one who is an adolescent, I am the one who is an old man. All those things, there is something called nitya in all this. But at the same time, there have been millions of anitya vastu in our life till date. That vivekam, to knowledge what is nitya and what is anitya is called the vivekam. Now vivekam is, in the normal sense, is intelligence. Now the intelligence for this Adhyatma Vidya is nitya nitya vastu. Vivechanam. Satya jnanam vivekam eva nitya nitya vastu vivekam. That is one. Then mumukshutvam. That I need to get myself identified with the nitya vastu, which I have been till now wrongly being identified as an anitya vastu. The body which I had as a child is no more the body which I am holding today. Neither the house, nor the location, nor the food, nor the air, nor the water, nothing has remained the same. So every change, in the eternal world of changing, there is something which is changeless. So to know that is what is called mumukshutvam, bandha nivritti. Because of the identification, wrongful identification, we get that bandhatvam with that anatmatvam. Now, sadhana chatushtayam sampannai, what there is one more thing is called shat shamadamadi shat sampatti. Vivekam, vairagyam, mumukshutvam, nityanitya vastu vivekam. These are the four sadhana chatushtayam which is required for a mumukshu. Eva shabdat anyai karma upasanadikaribihi idi bhavaha. That is that the word he has used, no, eva. Eva shabda is saying that karma upasana adhikaribihi, for them also this is mandatory that they should have the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. You can continue to do your karma or upasana and all actions which you are doing as people who follow the path of karma and upasana. You can also be included provided you have the nitya nitya vastu vivekam, mumukshutvam, vairagyam and shavadamadi shat sampatti. Muhu muhu nairantarya dirghakala abhyasa prayatnena snana vikshadau api anadaram krutva ityartha. So the muhur muhur means nairantarya dirghakala abhyasa. Here the commentator Vidyaranya Muni is saying that snana vikshati api anadaram krutva nairantarya dirghakala abhyasam yak karotihi saha eva mumukshu nityanitya vastu viveka sampannaha iti avagamaniyam. So we have to take that now this sadhana vikshadau is used for snana vikshadau is used in the name of people who have taken to sannyasa in the sannyasa ashrama. So they have only snana viksha, but no other obligatory duty like agnihotram, nitya karma adhiga. So even when you say that, even people who have taken to sannyasa snana vikshadau api, you have to be sadhana chatushtaya sampanna with mumukshutvam for this knowledge. Right. Vikshaniya gurumukhat avagatya vicharaniya anena mumukshuhu adhikari darshitaha. So gurumukhat avagatya jnatva vicharaniya muhu again and again by adhikari who is a mumukshu. Understanding it from the words of the preceptor, because Shabda Pramanam is what we are now taking as a Pramana here. So Shabda Pramanam, when it comes with it, Gurumukhat Avagamya, Avagatya, Vikshaniya, Vicharaniya, by this Gurumukhat yet Nirgatyate, Nirgamyate, Tasya Vicharana Krutva Mumukshu Adhikari Darshitaha. Anena eva arthat Purvakanda Uttarakandayo Sadhya Sadhana Bhavaha Sambandhaha Cha Darshita Bhavati Iti Bodhyam. Now the last of the Sadhana Chatushtayam, Prayojan, in the normal parlance, we say Vishaya, Adhikari, Sambandha and Prayojana. Now since he has spoken about the Prayojana in the beginning, the only one which is left out is the Sambandha. What is the Sambandha? Purva Uttarakandayo Sadhya Sadhana Bhava. So Purva Uttarakanda means here he is referring to the Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa, where one is talking about the obligatory actions, Vidhi, Nishedam in the Vedas, and Uttarakanda is talking about the Adhyatma Vidya. So Sadhya Sadhana Bhava, that because of the two differential aspects of the two, in the Purvakanda, whatever is Sadhya is not Pratyaksham. Swarga Kamo, Yajeta, Putra Kamo, Yajeta, all those things, the result may or may not happen. Whereas here, the Sadhyatvam is, Gurumukhat Shravana Matrena Jatiti Avalokayate Mumukshubihi. So the Mumukshu who is fully ready just by listening it from the Guru Mukhat, he has instant understanding, and if he doesn't have that, then vikshaniya muhu muhu. He has to think about it again and again, but the sadhanatvam, what is the result, is guaranteed by because it is not talking about something paroksha, Sorga, Pashu, Uttradi, which is not in your hands. It is talking about your own very nature, which is already an occupant, but it is what we call it as instant and already with us. Only thing is that we are not identifying with it. That is the so Darsita Bhavati Idi Bodhyam. That is what is to be understood. So in this sloka in the commentary, both Shankaracharya sloka as well as Vidyaranya Muni's Vakya is describing about the Anubandha Chatushtayam and the Adhikari Sadhana Chatushtayam, which will be explained in the next sloka. So that we will Sadhana Chatushtayam we will be discussing in the subsequent slokas. But this is what is the prayojana of the book. This is what is the sambandha between the Adhikari and the subject. And what is the prayojana is that Vaishika Suvan Jadavat Asti Swaprakashata Ahamasmi Tattvamashyadi Vakyam. This is what we will realize it by studying this book. Now, Swa Varnashrama Dharmena Tapasa Haritoshanat Sadhanancha Bhavet Pumsa Vaidyagadi Chatushtayam. Now, this is the third sloka which is talking about it. Is that Swa Varnashrama Dharmena. Whatever is the ashrama dharma of that, and Tapasa Haritoshanat, by Hariposhanat, and the Tapasa, here the Tapasana is Vikshaniya Muhu Muhu. We have to analyze it. That is the tapas here. Vaidyagyadi Chatushtaya Sampannaha Pumsaha Bhavet. He will achieve this. That is what is in the third sloka, which we will take it up in the next class. Any doubt or any questions in this class or whatever we have told till now?
Mahodaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just list down in the WhatsApp group the 4 pramanas, 4 sadhana chatushtayam, and 3 types of ajnana, viparya, and samshaya you have explained, and then you have told the basic terminology is important because that's where we get held up. So if you can just give a one-liner about each in the WhatsApp group, that will really help us when we go about in the text, Mahodaya.
Yeah, I can. I'll send the the technical terms and their meanings in the WhatsApp.
Okay, yeah, that's what I think so. Otherwise, it's clear for me. I don't have any such doubt as such.
Okay. Lalita Bhagini, Chandu Mahodaya, Nayana, Shobha, Chandini.
Not at this time, Mahodaya. I'm going to study this again, and if I have any questions, I'll ask in next class.
Oh, sure, please.
No question, Mahodaya.
No question.
Yeah, this is basically a sloka which is talking about what are the requirements and what is the text is all about, and what is the relation that is to be maintained for the thing. So, in the technical terms, these are all what you call the preliminary requirements.
You told about. Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the preliminary requirement is saying prayatanena. I think it's very frequently. It's not easy maybe, or easily you can eat it. I think we have to keep trying further and further on that aspect.
Yeah, because see, aneka janma prapta, we have been always identifying ourselves with the body and related to the body. Aham, mama. But that aham, which is what the Advaita talks about, is a different aham, is what it will not come from. Unless you are a Uttama Adhikari and Jaditi, you by listening itself. For example, in the Kathopanishad, Nachiketa didn't have any time to repeat. That the moment Yama explained it, he understood the whole thing. Whereas in the Chandogya Upanishad, Uddalaka had to tell 9 times to his son Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, giving 9 different examples. So even for a Uttama Adhikari like Shvetaketu, the father had to explain it in 9 times with the 9 different examples. So it's in the Upanishad itself, they are showing the difference between the caliber of each of the students.
Right. Dhanyawad.
What was that? Vanshidamani, you were asking something?
All the 4s, Mahodaya. You said the 4 important points: the Grantha, 4 Sadhana Chatushtayam, 4 Pramanas, and the 4 Anubandha Chatushtayam. You have listed all these in the class today, so if you can detail them out, it will be nice, Mahodaya.
Yeah, I'll send it in the WhatsApp.
And 3 types of Pramanas also. I think 3 types of Ajnanas. Yeah, that's also important.
Yeah, Ajnana is the 3 types.
Yeah, all those points which you can tell that.
Mahodaya, clarification on the term vritti. So vrittis are what we create every time we experience something or there is a thought, and when there is a bigger impact, it becomes a deeper impression. So the vrittis that we had in all the previous janmas, over time they become vasanas which we bring to this life, and according to those vasanas we live and behave and experience. And again we are creating vrittis every day, every moment, and they become vasanas that we are adding to what we already have. So they can be positive or negative vrittis that become positive or negative vasanas. Is that a correct understanding?
Partly yes, and partly there is something which you need to correct it. One is that Advaita doesn't talk about multiple lives. Okay. But in the text of Upanishad, they talk about Punarjanma, Agnirati Marga, Archarati Marga, and all those things for the benefit of those who have not Uttamadhikaris. Now, a person who has seen water in a mirage, how will you explain that this water, what you see in a mirage, is not water? So, when a person who knows that also, he has to use the terminology, this water, what you see. Knowing very well that there is no water, he has to use the word, this water, what you see, isn't it?
Correct. But for the purpose of our understanding in studying, knowing the meaning of the word vritti, what is the...
Right. Vritti basically, we have to understand is that vritti is the agitation or thoughts which is happening in the mind to create a disturbance with which we don't see the mind which is at tranquility. Vritti, when it is totally subsided, the only way which we know about it is in the Sushupti, when the vritti is not happening. Even the aham vritti is not there. You don't even know that you are aham at that time. But those who are practicing deep meditation, they observe the vrittis which is happening in the meditation by associating themselves as a sakshi to the vritti, but not like how they do it in the Sushupti. Tebhyo vilakshana sakshi, Jagrat Swapna Sushuptishu, vritti rupena yat vartate, Tebhyo vilakshana sakshi. So in the Jagrata Swapna Sushupti, vrittis are being seen by us as Sakshi. That Sakshi association happens in the people who are going into deep meditation. Samadhi. That is Nirvikalpa Samadhi, not Savikalpa. Savikalpa is where there are 7 stages of Samadhi. Saptabhumi, they call it as Saptabhumi. So I don't know whether towards the end of this book he's talking about Samadhi and meditation. So that time we will discuss it in detail. But basically, to answer your question, vritti is there in waking as aham and mama. Everything is coming under that vritti. In the dream, there is a different type of vritti where that aham is different, the mama and my experiences are different. There also vritti is there. In the sushupti, the vrittis are not there, not even aham vritti. So when you say that the vasanas are created by the vrittis, where does the vasana get created and where does it store? If it is stored in the body, body is perishable. Along with the body, the vasanas also should go. But if you say no, the vasanas are being carried to the next life or the next janma, where is the substratum, or on which substratum can this vasana be etched or impressed upon so that it can be carried on? That question will come, no? So what happens is that Advaita says that this experience of vritti and the Jagat through the body in waking is only an experience. It is not a life. So every morning when you are waking up is as good as we are taking a new life, because everything in the world has changed, including yourself. But we have an apparent continuity of things surrounding us, so we don't call it as a life separately. But if you scrutinize it in detail, the time has changed, the space has changed, every molecule on in and around us has changed. But it is just like that we feel the stationary earth we are walking on, even though it is rotating at 1840 kilometers per hour. We have an apparent feeling that it is steady and flat. Same way, the feeling that the life is, the morning when we wake up, the life is continuing from the yesterday, is a similar illusion. But life has changed, our experience has changed. We as an individual with the body, if you are identifying with the body has shred so many molecules of life out, living cells out, and fresh new life cells have come. The world around us has moved through space, so much of time, so much of space. We have nothing which we can relate to the time and space, which from the time we slept yesterday to the time we woke up in today. But that illusion, similar to the world, is flat and we are able to walk on it on the day and night. All these things are the same illusion which is keeping me thinking or you thinking that yesterday and today is the continuity. Vikshaniya muhu muhu. If you really scrutinize it, you will find that they have changed. This, to accept it, there is a vritti which is obstructing it, which is called Ajnana, Samshaya or Viparya. That one of that is prohibiting us to accept the fact. Now that has to be removed by Jnana. Only Jnana can remove Ajnana. Just as darkness can be removed only by light. Ajnana is Jnanasya abhava. even though it has got three forms like Ajnana, Vipadya, Samshaya, that is the three the thing. It is like the different tongues of the fire. Sapta, they call it as Kali, Karali. There are 7 tongues for a fire when it burns, from the red to orange to bright. Different colors come, dark from dark onwards. Kali is dark. So that is when the smoke comes to the thing. Same way, the mind also has 3 vrittis in the Ajnana avastha. Samshaya, Ajnana, Samshaya, Vipadya. Now, this is because of the absence of the knowledge, or Jnana Abhava. So, Jnanam, when it happens, all the 3 will vanish at the same time. It is not that Vipadya will go and Ajnana and Samshaya will still remain. No. Because what we are learning, we are studying is about a Tattvam which is the only thing which is permanent in and around us. Nityam. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So I just wanted to be clear on the definition of that word. So going forward, it will be.
Yeah. Nitya, vritti is basically the agitations in the mind. Now, whether that creates a vasana or not and everything is depending upon what you believe in.
Because I remembered reading something about this in Vivekananda's book. So, but
yeah, that's what I'm
thank
saying.
you for the explanation.
No, Shobha Bhagini, you should understand that each text is meant for a type of adhikari.
Right. So it will be different there. Yeah.
It will be different. For example, as I told you in the Gita class, each adhyaya is for a different adhikari. What is told in the second the second chapter is not what is being told in the 6th or 7th chapter. Is not what is going to be told in the 13th or 15th chapter.
True.
So each chapter has got a grantha status where the Vishaya is there, Adhikari is there, Prayojana is given, and Sambandha is given for each of the chapters. So same way, if you read Vivekananda book, Ramana Maharshi's book, or Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, each one of them has got different adhikari requirement, different sambandha between the Vishaya and the adhikari, and Prayojana in the Advaita parlor, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra and Gita are talking about Abhinnatvam, Advidiyatvam and Abhinnatvam. That Jivatma Paramatma Ekaha. That is the Prayojana. That Prayojana will come only when you can start moving from one place only if you stop holding on to the thing which you are holding on that place. Suppose if you are holding on to the rail of a staircase, you can't leave the staircase and move up, no? Like that, we have to de-identify with our vrittis that aham, deha, or idam mama, all those things to aham, paramanandam, sakshi rupena, idam sarvam janati. Sarva rupena janati. So then what happens is that sarvam khalu idam brahma, aham asmi. And aham brahmasmi, when it becomes the total knowledge. That Brahman, what is being sown, which we call it as Brihat, where it is as different from me, is not really different from me. That and I are the same in essence. Apparently the water is different from the waves and the froth and the bubbles, but they are all basically nothing but water. But water cannot experience it, no? But we can experience it because we have the intellect. Only through buddhi we can understand that.
Mahodaya, just excuse me, I need to leave, Mahodaya.
Yeah, we will stop now.
Oh, is it? Okay, fine.
Yeah. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् धन्यवादः।